Joined by Candace Kelly. If you don't know who Candace Kelly is, you should. She is a lawyer, she is a producer, she is an Emmy-nominated reporter and host. She's certified as a domestic violence response team specialist, very important in a case like this. And also, by the way, she even went to school with Sean Combs at Howard University. So Candace, thank you so much for coming here on Sidebar. It's such a pleasure to have you. First thing I wanted to ask you when I knew you were coming on is, since we haven't really spoken since all of these allegations came out, I mean, even from the very beginning, are you shocked at what he's accused of and also essentially what he admits he engaged in, coming from the guy that you went to school with?
Well, it's funny because when I went to school with him, he was the guy who was on campus, which, by the way, we had 1 year that overlapped. He was the guy that was on campus handing out flyers. He was still doing the parties. It wasn't the flyers that we know about today. They were hand-designed flyers. I remember him being on the yard in the center of campus. I am shocked, though I covered his shooting trial in 2001. And I know that after that trial, he changed his name from Puffy to P. Diddy. He started really trying to look at who he was and presented as a person, not Puffy, someone who got mad and got puffed up. He has softened his presentation of who he is over the years. So as the years have gone on, I haven't been shocked, especially looking at some of the things that he has also been taken to court for, whether it's, assaulting a photographer or somebody at his child's game at college. So there are different things along the way that have kind of built up to where we are. Hearing it from his voice on Stan, that makes a difference. To hear him color it and talk about the supervillain, to talk about, coming home and getting a phone call from Sean Combs. This was very important testimony to hear it from someone who might seemingly on cross you can't get and say, oh, well, don't you need money? Kid Cudi doesn't need any money. Well, don't you have something in on it for now in terms of what you're trying to get out of it? There's nothing that he wants. He's not dating Cassie anymore. He doesn't need money. And in terms of him just actually talking about it, he had to be subpoenaed to even talk about it. So he's not even looking for 15 minutes of fame. But definitely, when we talk about the pattern of criminal activity, you can actually kind of remove Cassie's testimony here. Inside of his one, sit down testimony, you can actually get potentially, if you are a juror, those two predicate crimes to create this pattern of criminal activity over the last 10 years. And that's what I found was really interesting for a lot of people who actually, and we'll get to, Capricorn, but even outside of everything else, through just one person alone, you can potentially get to these two predicate crimes in various ways. And I thought that that was very important because if you didn't believe Cassie and you thought, oh, maybe there was a problem with her, of her setting the foundation and everybody corroborating her, he as a standalone kind of works on his own in terms for the prosecution and what they need to prove. I thought what was also interesting just in terms of his presentation is that the way he dressed was not like other people who came to the stand. And I thought that added to the fact that he was being as genuine as he could be. He didn't put on a suit. He didn't put on a tie. What I got from him was, look, I have no pretenses, right? I'm just here to tell the truth. And then hopefully I can go back to my life. And I thought that was very important in terms of the authenticity of his presentation and what he said on stand. But absolutely, talk about glue, talk about eye-opening, and talk about hearing it from his own mouth really made a difference.
Deonte Nash. Okay, so this is Sean Combs and Cassie's former stylist. Candace, what do you think the jury took away from Deonte Nash, and do you think he's credible?
Well, first of all, he's likable, so that's that's a good box to check. A guy some might describe as kind of sassy and someone who knows how to make a good comeback in terms of talking with someone. No skin in the game in terms of, he said that he was not filing a lawsuit, was not a parlor lawsuit. He just wanted to get in and get out. This was definitely someone who made a difference. Again, someone who was inside of the circle of Sean Combs's orbit. They weren't dating. He was someone who was witnessing things that were going on, witnessing the beatings, even jumping in and trying to help Cassie for once. Someone who, as you said, gave this whole idea that at times Cassie did not want to go. But because of the violence, because of the threats, the fact that he brought up this idea that Sean Combs said, hey, you know what, I'm not going to release your music, using that as a threat to keep Cassie in her place. What we got was this theme of power and control that I believe we've seen throughout the whole case. This is someone who knew how to show people that he had power and control, not just over their own orbit, but when we talk about Regina Ventura, for example, I have your mom getting $20,000 alone. So you're not safe here and you're not safe at home. This whole idea of power control has been present throughout this case from day one.